Okay. We see this now.
Okay. Okay. As we have looking at question 2 now. Dash to visit your grandparents this weekend. Okay. So you can see there is no evidence that Sally is going to visit her grandparents like 100%, right? Because this is a question. So it is there is just a possibility of visiting grandparents. Okay. So in this case here, we cannot consider option 4. Have you planned? Have planned is in present perfect tense, which suggests that my action is completed but effect still felt. Okay. Next, if you say should you plan, this is showing that there's a need to do something. While will plan shows a future planning. Okay, it cannot be should because there is no confirmation that Sally will visit Sally will visit her grandparents, right? It's only a possibility as we have observed in the question. Next, we also cannot say that will you plan because Sally has probably has some ongoing planning, ongoing thinking and thinking process, right? That's why John will ask this question. So the only answer that we can consider is number 3. Are you planning? Because as they are speaking, Sally may be thinking in her head whether to visit her grandparents, right? So option 3 is in present perfect. Present continuous tense. Right? Which shows that my action is ongoing as I speak. Okay, let's move on. Look at question 3 now. This had the accident happen, then a crowd gathered. Okay, this one is testing you on adverbs. So adverbs basically show you the manner in which something was done. For example, something was done quickly. Mother run slowly. These are adverbs. And for this question here, we're looking at how the time period in which people go and gather and take a look at the accident scene. Okay, and for this question here, we have a keyword then. Okay, it's THAN, so we need to be very clear. Now let's take a look at the options. The first one is even. Even is used to emphasize something surprising. Okay, or very extreme. Even Tom, the slowest student in the class, could understand this question. Why can't you? You know, trying to emphasize that, something, the question must be very easy. No later refers to a specific time the latest is allowed. For example, you must submit your homework no later by 10 p.m. tonight. That means the latest you can submit your homework is 10 p.m. No sooner tells me something is immediate. So one thing takes place, then suddenly or immediately the second action would occur. Lastly, nonetheless shows contrast. Okay, this is a conjunction. So for this question here, when you have the keyword then, we need to use no sooner. Okay, these two are linked together. So to repeat again, the first thing I looked for was my keyword, which is then. Therefore, actually, I can immediately choose my answer as number 3. But I'm just going through each and every option with you. So at least you are sure, you are aware when to use them. Alright? Look at question 4 now. At the start of the outing, the children have been briefed what to do, dash they get lost. Now, this question here is once again testing you on your modal auxiliary verbs. Alright? And we're looking at how they need to do certain things. Should they become... So it's a set of compulsory actions. Okay, this is for their survival if they get lost in the forest, right? Now, with that in mind, let's look at the options given. The first one is will. Will shows habits. I will visit grandmother on Saturday. Habits. Shall here tells me the intention to do something. I shall go to the barber after school to cut my hair. Would. This is used to offer advice. I would call the teacher if I were bullied in school. Should tells me that there is a need to do something. As we can see here, the boys and the girls, the children, have to do something if they get lost. And it's a need. They definitely need to do it, right? So in this case, our answer will be number 4, should. Alright? Now, let's take a look at number 5 now. The rude customer never returned to the restaurant again. Dash she. So this question is testing you on a question tag. Now, the first thing that we observe is the past tense is being used here. Return, this keyword. Next thing we observe is never, which shows a negative connotation. So in other words, the rude customer did not return to the store. Therefore, we need the positive connotation at the back, which would be did he. Okay? Does here is the present tense of did. Okay? Have and had. These two are from the same root word. So have is in the present tense and plural, while had is in the past tense. Sorry, past perfect tense. Okay? Now, why do we not use have? Because have and had, these two are used to show possession. But what we are interested in, for number 1 and number 3, this shows completed action, which is basically what is happening in the question itself. Okay? So we have come to the end of our first 5 questions on grammar. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information first before we move on further. Okay, if there are no further questions, let's take a look at our 6th grammar question now. Did you hear what our parents are going to buy for my twin sister and Dash for Dash birthday? Okay, this question here is testing you on pronouns. What are pronouns? These are words to replace your nouns. So basically, they are words to replace things like Tom, Mary, the dog, the cat, toys, the car, so on and so forth. Yeah? So the first thing that we observe is we need to determine who is the subject and the object of the sentence. How do we do that? The first thing is to identify the verb, the action, which is buy. So who is buying something? Who's the one buying? Who's the one engaging the action? Parents. So the parents will be the subject. Next, you need to ask yourself, who is the recipient? So the parents are going to buy something. For who? Here, my twin sister and Dash. So this is the object of the sentence. Okay? Now, let's look at our options. So the first blank, we need to have the pronoun in the object form. I, this thing is in the subject form, while me is in the object form. As such, option 1 and 2 will be out. So we have only option 3 and 4. The next thing we observe is twin sister and the author. So they are two individuals. Definitely we cannot be her birthday because her is used for singular subjects. So I think all of us will know the answer will be number 4, our birthday. Okay. By the way, both her and our, these are in the possessive form. So we are looking at ownership, that the birthday belongs to somebody. In this case, the twin sister and the author's birthday. Can? This is quite a straightforward question, so I wouldn't dwell too long on it. Now let's look at number 7. This is a very tricky question, and it has come out quite a few times. So listen up. Janelle dashed in bed last night, reading her new novel. Okay, so this question here is testing you on 2 things. Number 1, tenses. Number 2 is a vocab question in disguise. Okay, the first keyword that we observe is last night, because this tells me it is past tense. Now look at the options given. The first one is lay. So what does this mean? There are 2 meanings, okay? The first meaning, which is in present tense, refers to putting something gently down. Please lay down the mat on the floor. So I'm using present tense. I'm telling somebody to put the mat gently on the floor. Next, lay can also be in past tense. It's the past tense of lie, which means that you are in a resting position, like you are sleeping. Okay. Now, second option, lies. Lies here also has 2 meanings. Both are in present tense. First one, it means you are in a resting position. Second one, it can mean that you are giving false information. Then we have late. Late here is the past tense of lay, which is put something gently down. Okay. Then lain is the past participle of lie. The resting position one. Okay. So in other words, if I were to put them properly, it will be okay. So if we are looking at resting position, this is present, past, and participle. And if we are looking at putting something gently down, then we have these two, lay and late. Okay? I'll say this is a very challenging question if you don't know the meanings of all this, right? But if you know the meanings, then it's quite straightforward because the contextual clue already gives you the answer. So we're looking at someone in resting position and in the past. So answer will be very straightforward. Number 1. Okay? Now moving on, look at number 8. All of her cookies dash have sold as well as the chocolate chips ones. Okay, this question 8 here, is testing you on determiners. So what are determiners? Determiners tell you the quantity of something. Is it a lot or very little? Now, we observe the keyword here is have. So you can really tell this is plural. Okay? Now, some of you may be thinking, then how do we go about it? Cannot be all have sold as well as the chocolate chip ones, right? Because the chocolate chip, this is an outlier, something that is very special. Correct? So how do we understand this question? Well, I'll say that the plural here basically means that all the cookie types cannot achieve the bestseller status. Okay, I repeat. All the cookie types cannot achieve bestseller status. So this in itself is plural. Right? And over here, the chocolate chips, the outlier is because this is the bestseller. Okay? So in other words, it means that none have sold as well as the chocolate chip cookies. Okay? Because none here shows 0. So we are saying that all the cookie types cannot achieve bestseller status. 0 achieve bestseller status except chocolate chip, which is mentioned at the back of the sentence. Now, when I look at this question, I'll immediately eliminate every because every shows individual cookies, which isn't the case for our question here. Next one, any. Any means there's no specific quantity. Okay, as such, I'm not really sure whether it's plural or singular. So it will not work as well. All shows 100%. Yes, but you need to be very careful because this is a trick question, right? It's plural, but we will use none. And why is it so? Because we need to understand the sentence in its totality. Okay, so this one is slightly more challenging. If you get it wrong, don't worry. I think what's more important is you learn why the answer is none. Okay? Okay, moving on, let's take a look at question 9. Neither of the dancers dash keen to join the camp when their instructor asked them. Okay, this is a very straightforward subject-verb agreement question. But we need to be very careful. The keyword is neither. Neither means 0. When it's nobody or when it's 0, we always use singular form. Okay? And you can see that the instructor asked them. So this already tells you it's past tense. Past tense and singular, we only have one answer. Was. Okay? Now, some of you may be thinking, sure, then when is the case where we need to use rule of proximity? Neither sister nor my sibling nor my cousins learn Malay in school. Wait, maybe neither of my sisters know how to drive the car. Can you see? Cousins, that's why it's no, because cousins here is plural. That's where we use the rule of proximity. And if we were to change the position, of cousins and sister to neither cousins nor sister, then now this is singular. So you'll be knows how to drive the car. Knows with a s at the back to show that it's singular verb. That's where the rule of proximity comes in. If not, for like the question 9 itself, where it's just one group of people, we will not use rule of proximity. Okay, look at number 10 now. Randy saw John dash the teacher before he left the classroom. This question here is testing you on tenses. All right. Now, the first keyword that we have is saw, because this is past tense, followed by our blank. I think the key challenge here is to ask ourselves, this action, the blank, when did it occur? If we were to draw a timeline, Randy saw John talking to teacher. It took place in the past. Okay, we are now in the present. That's why I can tell you, Randy saw John talking to a teacher. Now, when did the talking start? We need to ask ourselves. Well, the talking started before John saw it. That's why when John walked past both of them, they were talking, correct? So the talking probably started somewhere here. Let's say we are now at 5:15 p.m. Randy saw John talking at 5 p.m. The talking started at 4:45 p.m. That's why you can see this is how we approach this question. Now, we also know that this talking is an ongoing action, right? So in this case here, we can be sure that this ongoing action hasn't been completed, right? Or in other words, even if it has been completed now or somewhere along this line, we know that the talking action started way before the seeing action. Correct? As such, we will need to highlight that the first action of talking was ongoing when John saw both of them. So the only option that we can choose is number 4, speaking, because this is in the continuous form, which shows that something was ongoing. Okay? Now, let's quickly look at the other options. Spoke, past tense. Speaks, present tense, singular. Spoken. Spoken is in the participle form. Okay, so probably you need to add the word had in front. For example, had spoken. Then this will be in the past perfect form. All right? I just give everybody some time to take in the information first before we move on to our next section, which is vocabulary. Okay. If you have no further questions, then we will move on. All right. So now let's take a look at some vocabulary questions. 11. Jenny went to the hospital to visit her friend, but she was dash. Okay, you want to visit somebody. Then the other keyword is but, which shows that she was unable to visit. So probably the hospital staff did not allow her to visit, correct? Now let's take a look at the options given to us. The first one is turn up. Turn up here means you appear somewhere suddenly. Okay, unexpectedly. Next, we have turn off. Turn off means you stop the operation of something. Next, we have turn away. Turn away means you refuse to let someone enter a place. Lastly, we have turn down, which means that you reduce the volume of something. Okay, so in this case here, when we look at how Jenny was unable to visit her friend, it means that it's likely she was turned away. So she could not enter the hospital or enter the ward, right, to visit the friend. Now moving on, look at number 12. Daisy wore her sunglasses to shield her eyes from the dash sun. Okay, so there are two things we need to take note. Firstly, there was sunglasses to shield, that means to protect the eyes. And why do you need to protect the eyes? It's because probably there's something got to do with the sun. You know, it's very bright and likely it's going to spoil your eyes if you stare at the sun directly without the sunglasses. Okay, so looking at our options, the first one is glaring. So glaring here means you reflect some kind of strong dazzling light. Okay, next one is shining. Shining here means you send out the light. So for example, your torchlight, the light shines out, so you can say it's shining. Or maybe the stars, right? The stars basically emit the light. That's what shining stands for, what it means. Next one is flashing. So the flashing here means there is a brief shining of light. So for example, your police car has a siren and the lights on the top, right? So what happens is the light blinks. So there's a period of time where the light is switched on and switch off, switch on, switch off. That's why you have that effect, you know, where the where the lights are in short bursts. Lastly, you have the word sparkling, which means that it refers to flashes of lights as well. Okay, that means the light is not shining permanently. It's just a very short period of time. So in this case here, the closest answer that we will get is number 1, glaring, because the keyword is strong light. So it's like so strong until it will spoil your eyes, you know, if you stare at the light. Okay, look at question 13 now. It was dash of Jacob to make such a remarkable sculpture from ordinary materials. Okay, For this question here, the keyword is remarkable structure, which means something is very impressive. Something it must be really good. Okay? And you can see that it's made of original materials, ordinary materials. That means they are like cardboard, those kind of very easily found materials. So for somebody to use ordinary materials to make very good structures, it suggests that the person must be very creative, right? So looking at the options, the first one is intuitive. So this means that something is based on feelings rather than facts or proof. Next, we have indelible. Indelible means not able to be forgotten. Then we have indistinct, which means something is not clear or sharply defined. While ingenious means something is very clever or original. Okay, and we had discussed that Jacob must be very creative in order to come up with a very impressive sculpture with all the materials that can be found easily, right? So in this case here, he must probably be very original. So our answer will be number 4. Okay. Looking at question 14 now, the celebrity dash almost every question posed by the reporter. So you can see, every question posed, that means probably he did not answer. You basically essentially the celebrity wanted to avoid them. Okay. Look at the options given. The first word is emitted. Emitted means you produce or discharge a gas. So for example, we will say that your car emits carbon dioxide. It produces carbon dioxide when it's being used. Next one is evade. Evade means you avoid or escape something. So the robber can evade arrest. That means he probably sat in his stolen car and escape the police. Last one, third word is evict, which means you expel someone from the property. That means, is in other words, you chase somebody out of your house. Okay, and lastly, you have evoke, which means that you recall a memory to your conscious mind. Okay, so in this case here, when the author want to avoid, the celebrity want to avoid the question, the closest answer that we have is number 2, evade. All right. Lastly, we have question 15. A signaling fault has caused dash of the train services, and commuters had to wait another hour for the next train. Okay, so you can see the first thing that we observe is wait another hour for the next train, which suggests that the train service did not happen, right? So the train service are currently unavailable. Now, let's take a look at the options given to us. First one is termination. So termination here means you end a service, no longer is available. Okay, so for example, the termination of, for example, Jetstar, right, recently in the news. That means the airline no longer function or no longer flies these passengers from one place to another. Then you have cancellation as your second option. Cancellation means that your planned event will not occur. Thirdly, you have advancement. which means that you're trying to promote a cause or a plan. Lastly, you have postponement, which means that event will end at a later date. Will happen at a later date. Okay, so in this case here, when we look at how the train services will not be available, the closest answer will be number one, the termination of the services. So you end it. Okay, but it's not end like totally lah. That means you're not going to have the train services forever, right? It just says that they have to wait an hour for the next train. So probably within the current hour, no train service. But after that, there will be train services. Okay? Yeah, with that, we've come to the end of this vocabulary section. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on further to our next few questions. Alright? Okay. If there are no further questions, let's take a look at our vocabulary. Carry on with our two more questions of vocabulary first. Then we look at vocab close. After the initial shock, Sean quickly dashed himself and directed his staff to clean up the mess before the guests arrived. Okay, for this question, two things to take note. There's an initial shock first, followed by the action, direct his staff to clear. So probably Sean was able to overcome the shock. All right. So let's take a look at the options given to us. The first one is restore. Restore means to bring back or re-establish. Next, we have the word regain. Regain here means you obtain the possession of something. After losing it. So for example, you regain consciousness. Okay. You have resume, which means you begin again. After a pause. Or an interruption. Followed by you recover. So you return to a normal state. After some kind of initial shock. Alright. So in this case here, we look at how Sean was shocked and he quickly overcome it to clean up the mess, right? It means that he returned to his normal state of mind. So our answer will be number 4. Okay? Now looking at number 17 now. When you are ready, dash your registration form at the first counter. Explain the receptionist patiently. Now for this question here, you need to do something to your registration form. And it's the act of giving it to the counter. Take note, your registration form here is an official document. Okay, you may have written your name, your NRIC, and personal details on it. Now, looking at our options, the first one here is pass. Pass means you can proceed. Like you can move, you can like drive through somewhere, pass a checkpoint, right? Next, we have the word submit. Submit means you send a document to someone. Thirdly, we have deliver, which means you're trying to hand over a parcel or something to a recipient. Lastly, you have the word display, which means that you're trying to put something in a prominent place. Okay? So in this case here, all right, we're trying to give the registration form to the counter. We'll use the word submit. Okay? Moving on, let's take a look at some comprehension close question. Sorry, vocabulary close questions. So what is happening is we'll read through this text first, and we'll understand the meanings of the underlined words. Thereafter, we would take a look at the options given to us and choose the most appropriate one. Okay, so for this text, it reads, after 52 years, Yulang Bird Park is about to close. The closure will allow its staff members and avian residents to prepare for the move. So residents here, okay, resident refers to somebody living somewhere for a long time. So probably, if let's say you are a resident of Ang-Mo-Kio, that means you live in this particular neighborhood for a long time. Now, of course, you can see that it's a bird park. So probably you need to know that the residents are not humans, right? They're probably the animals. Before this familiar landmark is torn down, members of the public are invited to celebrate its legacy. So familiar here means something is easily recognizable. And why is it so? It's because it has been seen or heard before. Visitors can go on a self-guided trail peppered with displays of the key milestones in the park's journey. So milestones here refers to the significant stages of development. Okay? Where season guides share the park's history and little known anecdotes about its birds and architecture. So for 21, seasoned, right, means that someone is very accustomed to the conditions. Probably they are very experienced, right, or they have done the tour very many times before. They will share about the park's history and little known anecdotes. So anecdotes here, they are used to refer to short, amusing stories about a real place or person. Okay, so maybe they will share maybe a funny story about how the birds, escape from the bird park, things like that. Okay, and we are done with this text. So the first question that we are looking at is number 18, residents. Okay, as we have discussed earlier, it refers to people living somewhere for a very long time. So let's take a look at the options. The first one look is locals. Locals here refer to somebody living in a small area of a country, or basically some people who are living in a particular area, right? Next, we have the word tenants. So tenants, it means that you occupy a rented property. This is definitely not the answer, because we're just interested in people who exist in a place. We're not interested whether the person rents the house or owns the house. Citizens refer to people of a state. So this is a more of a legal term for people who are part of a certain country, right? And we all know the bird park here is not a country; it's just a place, and we are interested to find out about the people who reside in the bird park. So last one, inhabitants. It refers to animals or people that occupy a place. And in fact, this will be our answer, number 4. Okay, because we're looking at, in particular, animals. Next, we're looking at the word familiar. It means something is easily recognizable, right? So looking at the options, the first one is popular. Popular means you are liked or admired by many. Okay. Next one is common. So common here means is found or done very often. Well known here means that is recognized by many people. And respectable means that it means that you have good character and is therefore socially acceptable. Can? So in this case here, when we look at number 19, right? Familiar, that means everyone knows it. If they look at the landmark or something, they're immediately able to tell, oh, this is Yulang Bird Park. So in that case, the closest answer would be number 3, well known, because of the keyword, which is recognizable. Okay. Now look at number 20, milestone. So you're looking at a significant stage. It's a significant event. You may consider that, right? Now you can see that we have a direct synonym here, which is events, and that will be the answer. Now, what does event mean? You are just referring to something important that happens. Okay? Now, to learn, let's take a look at the other options too. The first one is steps. Steps just refer to a stage in a process. So maybe there are a few steps in order to buy a house, right? Then you just need to follow them, like step 1, step 2, step 3, or maybe even folding origami. There are also a few steps, right? Thirdly is the word features. This refers to something that is very distinctive. So it's something that is very, I would say, an identification marker or something. So if you look at it, you immediately think of the place. You know, like just now we were talking about SGH and how they had a clock tower, right? So in other words, if you look at a clock tower, you can immediately think of SGH, you know, something like that. Lastly is the word buildings. So buildings just refers to this architecture structure with roof and walls, right? I mean, you're just referring to HDBs. Okay, look at 21. Season. Season means you are very accustomed to the conditions. You have that kind of experience. Okay? So looking at our options, the first one is aged. Aged means that you exist for a long time. So no link to like your there is no link to experience. Next one is refine. Refine means you improve because small changes have been made. Thirdly, we have the word qualified. So you are basically officially recognized to perform a job. Lastly, experience means that you gain knowledge over time. Okay, so when we encounter such questions, you know, with very similar um, words, right? We are all looking at the acquisition of some kind of expertise, be it a skill or the experience. How do we eliminate them? Well, we need to be very clear. When we talk about season, we are looking more at the condition or the experiences. So if let's say the tour guide is very seasoned, probably he knows how they will know how to answer all the difficult questions the tourists ask. So it's not so much about the qualifications. We're not saying that the tour guide has some kind of tour guide certificate or training, right? We're more interested in his skills. You know, he knows how to deal with the tourists, he knows how to engage them. So in this case here, the closest answer will be number 4, experience, because he has that kind of knowledge. And along this knowledge, we also can consider how he has gained that kind of skill over time. You know, the skill can be talking, recommending places to people, etc. Can? Now let's look at number 22, our last question. The examiner is testing you on the word anecdotes. Anecdotes are basically short, amusing stories about the real place. In this context of the text, right? We are referring to the Yulang Bird Park. So usually anecdotes can be very funny or very interesting, short pieces of information, right? So let's take a look at our options. The first one is funny story. So we are looking at something that's amusing and will make people laugh. Some kind of funny story, right? Then we have unusual facts. So unusual facts means that they are referring to pieces of info that are uncommon. That means you never hear before. We have cautionary tales, which are basically stories designed to warn people about something. And lastly, you have horrific experiences, which are basically situations which are very shocking or frightening. Okay, so in this case here, when we're looking at how anecdotes are like interesting short stories, right? Usually, the closest answer that we will give will be funny stories, because you're referring to short stories that they are amusing. Amusing means something very interesting and people are like inclined to listen to it. Okay, and with that, we've come to the end of this vocabulary close. I'll just give everybody some time to take in the information first before we move on to our next section. Okay. Okay, if there are no further questions, then we'll move on to our section B. Before I forget, I want to go through the comprehension close from our paper earlier this afternoon. Okay, this is a Pei-Chun 2023 prelim paper, and we left out the comprehension close earlier because we didn't have time. So let's finish this paper first before we move back to the Nanyang paper and look at their section B. All right. Okay, let's take a look at this. Gratitude means being grateful. We should be aware of how much we have been given in life, and we should count our dash too. Okay, first thing we observe is aware of how much we have been given. And the next thing we observe is this three words together, which is like what you call co-location. That means they need to come together. So it will be, we should count our blessings too. This is because we often take things for dash. Okay, over here you can see take things for. So this is basically the opposite of counting blessings. So we will take things for granted. Okay. Sometimes it is important to slow down and reflect dash how fortunate we are. So you can see the reflection. What is it? What is the topic that we are reflecting on? Here, the topic is stated how fortunate we are. So when you reflect, you always reflect on a particular topic. Okay? Feeling grateful on a regular dash can have a huge effect on our lives. So you can see regular here is usually paired up with a word that conveys the frequency of an event. So the event that we are looking at here is feeling grateful. So to show that you are doing this consistently, we will say that it's done on a regular basis. Surprising improvements can stem dash being grateful for what we have. So over here, when you stem, you're trying to tell the examiner, the cause of the surprise improvements. And what is the cause or the source of the improvement? Is further down here, being grateful with what we have. So it will be from being grateful for what we have. Research has dashed that people who are grateful are more dashed to remain positive. So you can see that the research has told us, has informed us something. Okay, I see an answer from Bear. Is it from? Yeah, from is number 55. For number 56, we're looking at how the research has shown, okay, or you can say has found. Basically, you want to tell people that what we are writing behind is based on research. Now you can see that the word positive here is a particular event, of being happy. So you'll say that they are more likely to remain happy, even in the dash of negative feedback or unkindness. So you can see that when they encounter negative feedback or unkindness, right? And usually this is right up in their face, correct? So it will be even in the face of negative feedback or unkindness. Dash, grateful people have more positive ways of coping. So you can see they remain positive is one aspect. The second aspect is they have ways to cope with the challenges in life. As such, number 59 here is basically trying to show additional info in the form of a conjunction. So you'll say besides. You can say moreover as well, or furthermore. Okay? Now you can see, if you're trying to say that they have ways to cope with some kind of challenges, right? And the previous sentence has already shared what these challenges include. Unkind feedback, people being unkind to you, being negative, right? And all this actually shows, or how can we categorize them? We can just categorize them as coping with challenges or stress which they may face in life. Okay? Gratitude has also been dashed with better physical health. Okay, please take note with here. So if you want to use the word link, can or not? Cannot. You need to link to something. Okay, correlated. Correlated. Wait ah. Yep. You can say correlated with better health, or you can say related as well. The word I have in mind is associated. Okay. So very good. Who's this? Burr. Yep. In one study, teens who wrote weekly gratitude letters to others displayed healthier dash over time. Eating dash. So you can see eating is as an activity that you continue to do every day, right? You need to survive. Yes, very good. That's why we will say eating habits. It is impossible to practice gratitude dash humility. So we are saying that humility and gratitude, these two come together. So it'll be gratitude with humility. Okay, this is preposition. For example, proud people are too wrapped up in dash. More often than not, they also think dash of others and are unwilling to express their gratitude. So you can see, proud people, this is plural. Okay? So it will likely be, they need to wrap up in themselves. That means they're only concerned, or they only take care of their own well-being. They don't look out for others around them. And they also think dash of themselves, of others. Can you see? When they are too wrapped up, that means they are too concerned, or they have very high, they value themselves too highly, right? Okay. They also think lowly of others. Can you either can say you think lowly of others, you think poorly of others. Okay, the idea is the quantity here is low. That's all. Can? All right. Are there any more questions or alternative answers? Please ask them. Think unkindly of others. Cannot, because there are no clues to say that proud people are very mean. We only know because of the word humility here. Humility means you think of yourself less. So we are only interested in the quantity, not the manner. Unkindly refers to a manner. Can? Okay, are there any more questions? If not, looking at the time, we are quite restricted by the time, right? So I think for today we'll call it a day here. So thank you so much everyone for joining me on our Writers at Work TikTok session. I'm teacher Nathan, and if you'd like to learn P5 and P6 English paper 2 with me, do log on every Sunday from 3 to about 6 to 6:15 p.m. Right, we'll be looking at a new paper. Okay, 2 papers every week. And for our friends who have missed the papers on some weeks, right, or you would like to actually have someone going through the papers with you, you can always log on to our YouTube. Our YouTube channel has recorded TikTok live videos from past series, and those will be quite helpful if you like to do self-directed learning. Okay, if not, I'll see everybody next Sunday again. Bye bye.